Okay, let's get this out of the way right now. Rebel Moon really sucks. I just want to say that I really wanted to like this movie. Um, I knew going in that Zack Snyder's recent filmography has been pretty bleak. But seeing the trailer, I thought that this would be pretty cool. Instead, it is one of the most aggressively self-important movies I've seen in a really long time. And that might actually be worse than the fact that it thinks that it succeeded. This movie walks into the room like it's goddamn Citizen Kane, because Rebel Moon doesn't just want you to like it, it wants you to worship it. This was supposed to be Zack Snyder's magnum opus, but instead what we got was a movie that felt like it was designed by AI, slow motion, and included a bunch of things that other sci-fi movies already did better. So let's talk about what Rebel Moon really is. Rebel Moon starts with a quiet farming village that exists solely to be important later. They grow grain, they're peaceful, and they're about to get robbed by space Nazis. The movie really wants us to care about this village, despite spending an eternity there. There's no time spent on making these people feel like people. And then the big bad empire shows up, demands their grain, and threatens annihilation. The inspiration is pretty obvious. It's Star Wars, but with like Batman vs. Superman vibes. The stakes are supposedly enormous, but they're explained mostly through stern speeches and slow motion staring. And so our protagonist decides the solution is obvious. Assemble a team. What follows is half the movie. A galactic recruitment montage where we hop from planet to planet, collecting sad, talented, disgruntled warriors like we're shopping at a space Costco. No one needs convincing. No one has doubts. Everyone's just in.
Son of a bitch, I'm in.
Okay, and so eventually we have our Space Avengers assemble, slow motion happens, battles happen, and the movie ends by promising you the real story is coming later, which is pretty bold considering that this one barely told a story at all. Okay. Rebel Moon was marketed like it was the culmination of everything Zack Snyder has been building towards his entire career. A fully original universe teeming with deep lore, iconic characters, and a story so big it justified an intermission. And that's the first red flag. Calling something a magnum opus before anyone has seen it is just like Jeb Bush in 2016.
Please clap.
So much as implying that this is a magnum opus is insane. A magnum opus is the best work of your life, not the longest or the loudest or the one with the most lore attached to it. In today's cinema landscape, big scale is essentially what bachelor's degrees are in today's job market. Worthless. Rebel Moon is massive. Yes, the movie is big. Huge ships, huge battles, huge musical swells, huge slow motion shots of people just staring sadly into the distance. Every movie is big, okay? Rebel Moon wants you to know constantly that it is important. Every shot is slow, every shot is serious, and every character looks like they're carrying the emotional weight of an entire cinematic universe. It's like listening to someone talk for 2 hours straight using big words, and you just kind of come to realize that none of it really means anything at all. Okay. Now let's talk about the characters. Why are they all NPCs? Every character in Rebel Moon has one objective, one trauma, one slow motion entrance, and then they're done. We don't spend any time watching them interact. We don't see relationships form naturally. We don't understand how they feel about each other or their importance to their team dynamic. Instead, the movie just tells us that they're important. They don't grow, they don't bond, they don't feel like people. They feel like action figures that come with a single sentence on the back of a box, like, this is General Sadman, he's sad as shit, he used to be a general. Okay, but I have to say that the most egregious character has to be the freaking robot. It was all over the promotional material for this movie, and I thought that it was gonna play some kind of role in the story, but instead it's just there. It just kind of comes to sentience, and then it just does whatever the hell this is. I don't know what this is. By the end, I didn't care who lived or died because everyone is basically expendable. Except for this dude who can talk to animals. Let's be honest. Rebel Moon is not subtle about any of its influences. You can feel Star Wars in the Empire imagery, Seven Samurai in the structure, Dune in the aesthetic seriousness. These stories all had something to say besides the way that it looked. Rebel Moon feels like someone fed ChatGPT a bunch of movies and then asked it to generate a sci-fi epic. Everything from the ships to the aliens look pretty uninspired and probably belong in some other movie. That's such a huge issue. If I look at something from your movie, I should be able to place it in your movie when I look at it. I want to be clear when I say this, but I am not against directors having the freedom to bring their vision to life. But you have to know your director if you're going to do this. There had to be someone who looked at what he was doing and had some questions. There's no discipline here, no pacing restraint, no editor saying this scene kind of stinks, and sometimes a great movie needs someone off-screen saying, hey, maybe this doesn't need to be 4 hours across multiple cuts. The movie is called Rebel Moon, but we don't see that in any way. When the story finally ramps up to the final conflict, it's basically just the obligatory third act big battle that every blockbuster has done for generations. And even then, it seriously lacks the fun of big battles like the one in Rogue One or Endgame because the players are just so small and so few. It's just noise. Rebel Moon desperately wants to be a franchise with sequels, spin-offs, director's cuts, lore drops, but if your first movie doesn't work, I'm not doing homework for the next 6. Rebel Moon's biggest crime isn't being bad. It's so goddamn boring, dude. A movie this loud, this expensive, this self-serious should not just disappear from your brain the moment it ends. But it just kind of does. There's no iconic lines, no memorable characters, no emotion or thoughts that just linger in your brain. It's just vibes. And not even really good ones. Rebel Moon thinks that it's a masterpiece. But really, it's just a masterclass in how to make a boring movie. This is not a magnum opus. It's just an expensive reminder that movies take more than just lore dumping for 4 hours. It's pretty embarrassing that for a movie that wanted to launch a brand new universe, it couldn't even land the first movie. If you made it all the way to the end of the video, I want to sincerely thank you for watching. This is a brand new channel that I've started. I'm planning on talking about all kinds of movies, games, pop culture, just really anything that I find interesting. And by the way, if you see my screen like glitching, like in maybe like this part of the screen, I don't know why that happens. Trying to figure it out.